We were wondering if you could talk a little bit on just the importance of adaptability.
Well, there was this thing growing up that my mom used to always tell me, which was you have to be like water. And so I kind of always taken that and rolled with it. And it's true. Water persists no matter where you put it. Unless it's in a metal box, it's gonna leak out and try to find these crevices and ways to make its way through places, much like the flood in my apartment. Actually, it's exactly like that. But yeah, you just have to try to be real flexible. There's still some stigma around online learning, because people are really attached to the traditional form, and there are a lot of advantages to the traditional form, but there are also advantages to online learning that you won't find out until you're actually doing it. So it's really important to just be open about it, just try it, go for it. um, with in-person learning, of course, you have that thing where someone is in your environment, they're right here, like there is a presence there, and the teacher can use that to do a little tap, to put their finger under the bell when that bell's dipping way too low, things like that. um, but in online learning we don't have that. In online learning we have other advantages, like for example, attention. People in online lessons are much more attentive to what's going on, because there is no, whatever may be going on out here, there's no environment. They're in their own environment, is what I'm trying to say. So when I had in-person lessons, for example, I have a lot of like collectibles and things like that in my workspace. And so my kids would come in and it was just like, boo, boo, boo. Their attention was just everywhere because there's a lot of stimulators. But when they're in their own homes, then it's very different. Um, there's a lot of advantages also, like warming up. Usually there is no travel time with online lessons. So they can just sit down 5 minutes before the lesson, do a quick warm up, and then by the time they sign on, they're warmed up and we're ready to go. So taking this idea of just flexibility and adaptability from music, but into your daily life. Like you mentioned, Ashley, we just had that winter apocalypse here, and everything happened really quick. One night, the apartment was flooded. No one came until many hours later, um, and the response time was very low because the roads were ice. So, um, and I mean, I had no at that point I had no idea that 5 days later I would be moving. It was just one day at a time. That day my concern was cook enough food, just in case we lose power. That's the most important thing. So that day after the flood, in the middle of the flood, I was cooking for about 6 hours to make sure that we had food, because I had no idea what was going to happen. So that same night after I'd spent all day doing that, our manager calls, "Hey, you guys want to go stay at the model because I know you have a really serious mold allergy." That's me. And the extraction team hadn't come. There was water in the carpets everywhere in here. And so with my asthma and everything, we were pretty worried about that. So that night, less than 24 hours later, we were packing up a quick suitcase, putting all the food I just made in a bag, and walking over to a different apartment to stay in there for what ended up being about 5 or 6 days. And yeah, I mean, one day at a time. that's that's the motto. Be like water, one day at a time. I think that works for just about anything that you have to do in life.